You know, last year at this same time, I was about 30 pounds more heavy than I am right now. And that was a lot of just being sedentary, eating, just doing what everybody does when you're in your 30s and you're a dad and you're married and you got a job and all this other stuff in your life going on. You just don't always make time for fitness and you don't always eat right. And the two things that really helped me was at the beginning of last year, I made some goals. I said I wanted to, lose 30 pounds, and then I set up these systems. One of them being just run consistently. I want to do at least 1.5 miles almost every day. I give myself one day off a week to just kind of rest and recoup, but it's the consistency that has made a huge difference in my running. And running is basically what I'm going to be talking about here today. I'm not going to talk about form or a lot of specific training. He can help you out with that a lot better than I can because I'm not a coach or anything like that. But in my athletic career, I've been a triathlete, I've been an obstacle racer, but I started as a sprinter. So I started on the track, and I was all about fast twitch muscles and going really, really fast. So the way I run, it comes down to seconds, okay? Even 1.5 miles for our PT test is like a long run for me. Now, in this last year that I was telling you about, that I said I'm going to run at least 1.5 miles, I'm going to get consistent. In that time, I've built up my running to where I can comfortably run like an hour and not really like be all that taxed about it, and that's just a testament to the shape that you can get in when you're really consistent. And your goals can start wherever you are. You can start, just walking 1 mile a day or commit to 15-minute walk a day. Whatever it is, it's that consistency that I found to be a great improvement in my overall health, my cardiovascular health. And the second thing, apart from the consistency, is the tracking all that stuff. So what gets measured gets managed, okay? If you said you want to, make a certain amount of money every year, how would you know how much money you're making? Like, let's say you're a freelancer or you can do, overtime at work, whatever it is. You have to know exactly how many hours you're putting in. You have to see those. You have to measure it. You have to know what it is every day. And so one thing that really helped me was a fitness tracker. There's really cheap ones. There's really expensive ones. You can do your research and find the right one that's right for you. But this one that I found is really helpful in that it does GPS on its own, so I don't need, have my phone with me just to go out for a run. But also measure my steps, measure my sleep, and what gets measured gets managed. And so when I say I want to hit 12,000 steps a day every day this year, I can see that. I can see I've got 3,800 so far this morning and this afternoon, so I got a lot to go. All right, which means I might have to put in a nice long walk, or I might have to put in another run today. But whatever it is, I can see my progress, and I can see it on a daily basis. Some people say, don't weigh yourself every single day, weigh once a week. I like to weigh myself every day because I want to know exactly where I am every day. And because I also, when I run, I might get dehydrated. I might lose 5 pounds of water just from a run. And I got to rehydrate that. Okay, so that's why I weigh myself every day. It helps me to keep track of all that stuff. So what gets measured gets managed. And how does that transfer into running? Well, there's a lot of math that you can do with running, and I'll kind of break it down for you because who here knows the minimum passing time for the, let's say, men's PT test for the run?
14 something.
For, let's say, 30 to 39. 14 flat? Okay, so 14 flat. That's a, that's a manageable run, and the way that you can break that down is all math, okay? So we got to do 6 laps on the track, right? And just to make it a little easier for myself, let's say you're going to do a 12-minute run, okay? just to make the math easier, you're going to do a 12-minute run. Now, number one, that 12-minute run is going to put you well in the 14-minute range, okay? And it's going to score you some extra bonus points so you can get ahead if you're lacking anywhere else, because you got to get above a certain score, right? And just scoring the minimums isn't always going to help you to pass. But failing one section obviously is also going to fail the whole thing. So let's say you wanted to get to that 12-minute mile and a half. What is that? How do we break that down? How do we measure that? Well, it's 2 minutes per lap, okay? 2 minutes per lap. How do you run 2 minutes per lap? Well, you know, if you can't run that fast just yet, you think about those 2 minutes, and you could start out by just saying, let me see if I can run 1 2-minute lap. Just get a little warm up in, try and put in that 1 2-minute lap, okay? And then just rest or just walk for the rest of your workout. And then you can say, oh my gosh, that just about killed me. How am I ever going to do 6 of those? Okay? But that's where that consistency comes in. So you try it, you see where you are, okay? And then every day you put in that consistency, whether it's just walking or running. But then once a week or so, you get out on the track and you say, okay, let me try and do 1 of those 2-minute laps, and then I'm going to walk a lap to rest, and then I'm going to try and do another one, okay? And so you're kind of building yourself up, but you're giving yourself these easier, measurable, manageable goals. So for me, if I'm trying to run max on my run, that's my goal this year, is to run max on the run. The best I've ever run is 10 minutes. But I have to run a 9:33 to hit max. So I have to break all that math down in my head and know that each one of my laps has to be, I believe it is 141 or 137 or something like that. I have to redo the math because I don't have it memorized. But that's my point. When I get out on the track to do my weekly speed workout, because you should vary your runs, he'll tell you this, right? You do different speed runs all the time so that you can give your body different stimuli so that you can improve. That's the basis of any workout or any training, is overstimulating, recovering, and doing it again. But if you're always just going out for really easy runs or easy walks, you're never going to know, you're never going to push that barrier to go a little bit faster. So let's go back to the math real quick. So let's say you've done 2 of those now. Like you can, in one workout, you can get 2 of those 2-minute laps. So then the next week you try and get 3. And the next week you try and get 4, all while doing rest in between, all while catching your breath, all while getting yourself into that, you know, pace where you can be comfortable again. So then once you can get yourself in one workout 6 complete under 2-minute laps, then you go the next step and you say, okay, can I get my rest shorter? Can I get that rest interval that I'm taking down to 30 seconds? So I'm finishing my lap, I'm breathing hard, my heart is pounding. I'm going to take a couple walks, I'm going to watch my watch, and then when my watch hits that 2 minutes and 30 seconds, because I just did a 2-minute lap, when my watch hits 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I'm going to go again. And I'm going to push that pace, and then I'm going to hit, that's going to be 4:40 or 4:30, right? And then I'm going to rest another 30 seconds. Now I'm at 5 minutes on my watch. So you don't even have to have like a fancy watch or a fancy timer to do this kind of stuff. Now if you're doing, you know, laps like mine, like 1:37 or something like that, it does get complicated, and you do need a watch that you can measure the laps, you can measure those intervals. I have an app on my phone that does it as well. It tells me what rest I need to be doing, what interval I need to be doing. And you know what? There's days that you're not going to hit those intervals. There are days that you're going to be overtired. It's too hot outside. It's too cold outside. Your heart rate's going too hard because you're overtrained or you're sick or whatever it is. And that's okay. You write those days off and try again next week at your next speed workout. And as you measure those times, you've got, okay, you accomplished that goal. I got my 6 2-minute laps in one workout. My rest was 5 minutes. It took me 5 minutes to catch my breath, get my heart rate back down, and go out for another 2-minute lap. That's how hard it was. But the next step is to get those rest intervals down shorter, okay? So now that you've done the math, you know what time you need to get, you've been able to do a single lap in that time that you needed, and now you've built that up so you can do 6 laps with rest. Now you work on getting those 6 laps with less and less rest. So each week you think about, you know, can I get my rest to 30 seconds? Can I get my rest to 10 seconds? Can I take no rest? Can I get that full, 12-minute run with the 6 laps with no rest? And you go out there and you fail, you bonk, you do 4 of the laps and you just die. And that's okay. You take your rest, you finish up. Maybe you don't finish up. Maybe you just bonk so hard that you don't want to finish that workout. There's days when you need to push yourself, and then there's days when you have to say, hey, you know what? I didn't make it today. I'm gonna retaliate. What's the word? Recoup. Not reattack, not retaliate. It's maybe reassess. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But I'll think of it like 10 minutes from now. Recovery? Yeah, it's something, no, I don't know why. But so you get yourself back in that mind frame the next time and you try it again. You get back on the horse, okay? You don't get discouraged and give up. And you take those small incremental improvements to get yourself better, okay? And over time, you track yourself, you try a run, see where you are, and then you adjust those intervals. And so it comes down to a lot of, just the math and figuring out what is it exactly that I need to run to get that pass, okay? Or what exactly, where I'm coming from, what exactly is that time that I need to run for each lap that will get me that time that I'm looking for. And you just break down all that math, and then you adjust your workouts, adjust your rest, adjust the running interval that you're doing, and that can get you to where your goal is, because what gets measured, gets managed. And it's a lot easier to hit those goals than to just go out there and say, oh, I got to run a 14-minute mile and a half. I'm just going to go out there and run it and just try and run it faster every week, okay? You can do that. You might run it faster. But when you really break it down and you really understand what it takes at every single stage, you might even say, I can't run a whole lap on the track in 2 minutes, but you could try a 200, that's a half a lap in 1 minute. It's the same math, but you're just making it a little easier on yourself to make those goals more attainable, okay? And that's what it's all about. It's about finding a way that you can consistently exercise, consistently run, and get to the goals that you want to get to. Because if you make it like this crazy weird, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow, that's not going to happen. You have to build up to it. And you have to make those goals realistic. Maybe you just hate running, okay? Like a lot of people, I hated running long distance coming from a sprinting background. The first time I ever run a 5K, I was like, actually, the first time I ever competed at anything over, 200 meters, I was almost into my 30s already. And so I could call myself a runner, but I had never been a distance runner, ever. And those kind of distances just scared me, But I've been so consistent with my running now, I've done, not an official half marathon, but I've gone out and run 13 miles. And I never believed I could do that. And now I'm even considering a marathon. I never even thought I would want to try a marathon, let alone just even thinking I could complete one. Okay, and that's what it's about. It's about those measurable goals and being able to find a lifestyle that makes that easy for you. You know, because when I lost those 30 pounds over this last year, it wasn't by doing any kind of fad diet. It wasn't about, you know, for me, it wasn't about, you know, ketosis or cutting out specific certain foods. It was just about kind of eating less, like taking less portions, running consistently every day. And those two things kind of got me to where I wanted to be. And everybody, you know, I mean, that was like 2 to 3 pounds a month. That wasn't even fast weight loss, okay? And I'm sure you're going to probably have a totally different story. And that's okay. Everybody's individual. You can't, you know, you can't always, to me, you can't always tell people exactly what to do. You can't always take an extreme thing and make it accessible to your life. You know, I got kids. It was really hard when I did like a really specific diet because I'm eating something totally different than my family is. So then I'm either cheating all the time or they're not getting the food that they want because they're eating what I'm eating, and I don't cook a lot, but I can cook. So my wife ends up making a lot of the meals, but she was like getting annoyed making 2 separate meals, one for me and one for the family. You know, so this last year, when I actually lost the weight and kept it off, it was because I was just eating, for me, a little bit less. And that was way more sustainable than eating like weird things or you know, being really hard on myself about what I'm eating. You know, so everybody's experience is different. Everybody's experience is, you know, what works for them, okay? And so when I stand up here and you might say, ugh, this arrogant jerk, he's talking about getting a max on his PT test when I'm worried about getting discharged because I can't get the minimums. And that's okay. Everybody is where they are. Everybody has their own goals in mind. And some of those goals are a little more pressing. You know, if you've got some failures and you really got to pass, you got to think about those and think about what it's worth to you to hit those goals. And sometimes you got to do some things that are really uncomfortable and a little bit extreme, you know, to hit those goals, to stay in the Air Force. Whatever it is you got to do, you know, just do it, but find out ways that can fit into your life and give you that balance and help you to find something that's sustainable, all right? So those are my words of wisdom. That's my talk about running. Does anybody have any questions or, you know, any feedback at this point? Just curiosities? Anybody? One of the tools that I found really helpful in my pacing, because pacing is difficult. You know, how do you know how fast to run to hit that 2-minute lap? Well, the more you do it, the more your body will remember it, okay? And after you get that first halfway around the lap, you look at your watch and like, oh man, I did that first half in 45 seconds. That's way too fast. That's 15 seconds ahead of pace. I'm gonna die if I keep going at that pace. So you slow down a little bit, okay? And that's how you teach your body that pacing. So one of the tools that really helped me with pacing is this little app. It started out as a big circular calculator that you line up the windows and the numbers show up. It's called Pace Wheel, and full disclosure, I don't make any money from it, but my cousin invented it, basically. And the Pace Wheel is really helpful. You can get it as an app on your phone. You line up the most recent run that you've done, whether it's a 5K or a 1 mile. Unfortunately, there's no 1.5 miles on there, but there's a 2 mile, so you can get pretty close. And then it'll tell you the paces that you need to be running during your training, whether it's an aerobic easy pace, whether it's one of these track workouts I'm telling you about where you're going fast and then taking rest, or whether it's just a good old hard run out there. And it'll tell you all those paces, and I can show it to you real quick. So if anybody wants to look it up, they'll just at least know what it looks like. But the pace wheel, it's all scientifically based off of Jack Daniels' method. And these things, you can calculate them online yourself. You can find these numbers other places. But the point is, it'll go from anywhere from an 800-meter run all the way up to a marathon and give you a kind of idea of what your current fitness is, what your goals are going to be, and what the paces are you need to run in your regular training to just improve, okay? So that pace wheel, that's kind of what it looks like. Sorry, my thing just went off. It's kind of got like a rainbowish look to it. And it's just like the circular calculator made out of cardboard. You just kind of slide it, and it runs the numbers for you in all these little windows. And I found that really helpful for me. So I only look at it maybe once a month, and I say, okay, this is my most current 5K. I want to run a 5K in under 20 this year. That's one of my actual goals. And so I just line those numbers up and look at what my training paces need to be, and those are the training paces that I run for the next 4 weeks. Okay, and then next month I pull out this pace wheel again. I look, okay, well I ran a little faster, and all those numbers adjust now. Okay, so there's also apart from that, other pace calculators online, things that can help you to get to where you want to be and break those numbers down. All right, so that's all I got to say for myself. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. If what I was saying like totally makes sense, but you're like, I don't know how to crunch the numbers, you just did that stuff in your head and I need help with that, talk to me. I'll gladly put this stuff on paper. I wish they had a whiteboard for me that I could just write this stuff down so you could kind of see the math. I'm a very visual person. So if I was sitting where you guys are right now, I'd be like shaking my head and like, okay, I get it, but I wouldn't have learned anything because I'm very visual, all right? So I like to see those numbers written down. I like to see them, break them down, crunch them in my head, and then manifest that into my body, okay? And so yeah, if you have any questions or if you want me to run your numbers, if you're concerned about your run and you want to see how you can hit those numbers for yourself, yeah, pull me aside, talk to me. I'm in the clinic. I'm the optometrist over at the Med Group. So yeah, feel free to talk to me or drop me an email. I'm sure you can find me on there. But otherwise, I'm all set. So next we've got Tina, right? She's going to come up and tell you her amazing story. Major McDonald knows her from outside and brought her in, so I don't know a lot of her story. This is all going to be really new for me, so I'm kind of excited to hear about your story and your journey as well.
I want to thank you first. I don't know if Sam knows this part of my story or not, but when I was graduating high school, my goal was to join the Air Force. I unfortunately had a change of plans that was given to me. I had a really horrific car accident. Don't know if you know the Woodsboro area of Maryland or not. There's a portion of the railroad track that the road goes this way and the car I was in went this way instead. It was raining, really poor visibility. My boyfriend at the time was intoxicated and I didn't know it. We flew off the embankment and hit the top of a telephone pole and crashed and turned and hit and turned and hit and turned. And we landed in an oak tree in someone's backyard. Car was upside down, completely smashed in. I didn't have my seatbelt on, and that's what saved me. It's a really hard thing to negotiate in your brain because we're supposed to wear our seatbelts. I was upside down and underneath the dash. My feet were in the back. I fractured my T12 vertebrae. I was told I wasn't going to walk again. Broke my jaw, slashed my head. I woke up and I remember feeling, this is it. I was 17 years old and I had plans. I had a life and I was supposed to be living it. And I didn't comprehend what was going on because this wasn't what was supposed to take place. Long story short, I enjoyed my senior prom in a brace from here to here. I proved doctors wrong and I walked again. But what I also did was not fully comprehend what was taking place in here. And that's the part that I bring to you guys that's a little different than most. We'll fast forward from the car accident. 7 years ago, I had my 7th child. I realized at that point, when I was 300 pounds, that my life again was being given to me as an option. I can survive it, or I can give up on it and just take what's there. At almost 300 pounds and blood pressure going through the roof and doctors telling me words like pre-diabetic and medication, and I'm in my 30s at that point. And this is not, again, the way life is supposed to be. It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be something that you get to wake up every single morning, and when you put your feet on the floor, you get to enjoy it because you know that you're there for a purpose. I didn't know what my purpose was, and that's a part of what allowed me to gain that weight, to lose the parts of my passion for life and just take on all of the weight. My background, I came from a very abusive childhood. I married into a very abusive marriage the first time. I spent 9 years getting the shit knocked out of me. My first 5 children saw things that I can never eradicate from their hearts or their brain or their soul. But 7 years ago was my marking point in the sand. I chose to live my life from that moment, and I had to choose it not for my kids, not for my husband, who I'm now married to, but for myself. And that's the piece that I offer you guys today. You can choose from where you're at right now to make an impact in your life. And by doing that, you actually create a ripple effect in the people around you. Your spouse, your children, each other, your coworkers, everyone that you get the opportunity to live this life with, you can make an impact on by choosing to serve and honor yourself, to take the time to take care of yourself, which does include our health. For me, I used workouts at home because I was too scared to come out and do it in front of anybody else. At 300 pounds, there's lots of stuff that you don't want to see. There's lots of moves that you can't do, and it's just impossible. But you keep doing it. You break it down into very small incremental levels that you can build that confidence with, you can become successful with. And as you do that, it becomes easier. You become more confident. And as a by proxy, the weight starts to come off. So whatever your goal is with the PT test, if you break that down into those incremental little markers that you can see in front of you, and you can walk toward it, and you can touch it, and you can feel it, and you know it's there, you can give yourself the ability to confidently, successfully reach that goal and continue it long term. Through the process, I found that the mindset is the most important part of this whole little process, because I did the nutrition just by itself. I did those fad diets. I did everything and anything that came out on the market. I tried because it was going to work. That's what the TV said. So I bought it. I bought into it, but I didn't buy into myself, and that's why it didn't work for the long term, and that's why I gained the weight back. Over the course of the last 13 years, I have probably gained and lost 200 plus pounds, and that's maddening to even think of. To walk into the grocery store and pick up a 50-pound bag of dog food and know in the back of my head how many times I've picked up and gained and carried and walked through life with like 2 and 3 of those bags. It's maddening. But when you step back in your own life and you truly look at what you're capable of, truly know that you have a purpose here and that you have the ability to change and impact your own life, that is where the momentum comes from. When you change your mind, you change your life. You open up and you allow that room inside of yourself to truly become the difference that you want to see in your life, the difference you want to see in other people's lives. You be able to become that better person, and you get to live the life that you actually want to live instead of survive the one that you have. So you get to make changes, you get to make opportunities for yourselves. What I figured out was easiest was breaking it down into 3 components. I eat, I move, and I believe. I eat effectively, I move effectively, and I be effective in every aspect of my life. Those are the 3 steps that I was able to break it down into so that my brain would let me comprehend it, my body felt like it was capable of sustaining it, and my heart and my soul understood that I was making an impact. So that's what I offer you today, the ability to eat more effectively. Look at the nutritional aspects of where you're at right now. It is very difficult to do that 2-meal thing all the time. So what I would offer in that particular situation, because what I also do is nutrition coaching, is don't change just your eating habits. Look at your home, look at your environment, look at your surroundings. And I know you may be kind of limited when you're on base to certain things, but it can be a whole lifestyle change. All of your whole family can eat one particular meal and you can kind of tweak it as you go. It can be a supportive environment where each of you has that component for yourselves, as well as teaching your family to be a part of that lifestyle too. And it works that way with exercise as well. It doesn't have to just be you doing the physical exercise. My kids, my oldest is 20, 19, 17, 15, 14, 11, and 7. At each one of those ages, I have been able to teach those kids what it means to move their bodies more effectively. I got better with it with my younger ones than I was with my older ones. But my 7-year-old will run into the room and she'll pop in a yoga DVD and do it because she knows it calms her down. But then she'll also go, Mommy, I need to run around the neighborhood. I'm too much energy. And that's a lesson that I was able to instill in her on accident. I didn't know that was going to get in there. I was just trying to jump up and down and do burpees and make myself stronger and lose the weight, and she watched me do it. It's an amazing, amazing opportunity that each of us have to be able to give back to the people around us, but it does have to start with us. So that PT test that you guys have coming up or that you're trying to successfully pass, it starts with you. You have the option, the opportunity, the privilege. You have the privilege to make that choice right now before that choice is taken from you. Before you're in front of a doctor and they say, you need to be on meds. Your blood pressure's too high. You're pre-diabetic. Your heart isn't going to sustain the lifestyle that you are choosing to live. You get that option right here, right now, when you walk out the door, and every moment that you wake up another day and you put your feet on the floor. You get that option. You get that privilege. What you do with it is what makes the difference. What I chose to do with it was to make a difference for myself so that every morning when I wake up and I put my feet on the floor, I know that somehow, some way, I'm going to make a difference in someone's life because of the life I lived. In this moment here, this is a proof for me. This is 25 years later and it came full circle for me. I was sitting in a recruiting office and I was signing papers to join into an amazing opportunity that was my ticket out of the world that I was surviving. And it was taken like that. But it came back around. It came back around. I get the opportunity still to share this experience with you guys, to hopefully have one of you, just one of you, walk out of the door today and know that you can make a difference in your own life. Thank you very much.